Section 1. Introduction to Letting Go. Hi everyone. Tonight we're going to dive into a topic that, while difficult, is essential for emotional growth. Letting go of someone who never deserved you. It's not something that comes easy for most of us. In fact, it's one of those lessons life throws at us that challenges everything we thought we knew about ourselves. Imagine this. You're sitting in the quiet of your room, the weight of an unspoken truth pressing down on your chest. There's someone in your life, someone you once thought you couldn't live without. Yet deep inside, you know they don't belong in your story anymore. They've hurt you, drained you, and taken more than they ever gave. But still, you're stuck in the mental tug-of-war, wanting to hold on, wondering if it's too late to let go. It's painful, it's confusing, and yet, there's a part of you that knows this is the moment for change. Letting go, especially when someone hasn't treated you the way you deserve, feels like stepping into the unknown. The fear of emptiness looms large, whispering that you'll be alone, that there's nothing better waiting for you. But, as Carl Jung so insightfully suggested, it's often in these moments of emptiness where we can discover who we truly are. It's only when we stop clinging to what doesn't serve us that we create the space for something far greater, something aligned with our authentic self. Now, before we get too comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you really like what I do here. I'm curious, where are you watching from right now? Go ahead and post your location and local time in the comments. It's always interesting to see how far and wide we can reach. Now, turn off the lights, maybe turn on the fan for some soothing noise, and let's get started tonight. Letting go isn't just about cutting someone out of your life. It's about reclaiming your energy, your peace, and your worth. It's about healing from the hurt and realizing that you don't need to keep pouring into a cup that was never yours to begin with. You may not realize it, but when we allow people to stay in our lives who don't deserve us, we're sending a message to our subconscious. We're telling ourselves that we're not enough, that our needs and dreams don't matter. But that message doesn't have to be your truth. Jung talks about the shadow, the hidden aspects of ourselves that we often choose to ignore. These parts of us are repressed because they don't align with the image we want to present to the world. But those shadows don't vanish just because we try to ignore them. They seep into our relationships, our choices, and, in some cases, our inability to let go. When we don't address these shadows, they continue to influence us in ways we don't fully understand. It's this shadow self that can keep us tethered to a relationship we know isn't healthy. But here's the truth. Letting go is an act of self-love, not weakness. It's one of the hardest things you'll do, but it's also one of the most powerful. It's a statement to your soul that you're ready for more love, more peace, and more self-respect. So, as we go on this journey together, remember, letting go is not about losing. It's about gaining a better understanding of who you are and what you truly deserve. Gaining the freedom to step into your own life without the emotional baggage holding you back. Section 2. Jung's influence on understanding relationships. Carl Jung, one of the most profound thinkers in the field of psychology, had an uncanny way of articulating the complexities of human relationships. He didn't just see relationships as simple interactions between people. He saw them as reflections of our deeper selves, particularly the parts we often hide from the world. This concept of the shadow is key to understanding why we sometimes stay in relationships that hurt us or don't serve us. Imagine, for a moment, that you're in a relationship that has drained you emotionally, yet you can't seem to break free. Why do we do this? Why do we keep holding on to someone who doesn't value us? Jung argued that it's because these relationships are reflections of our own shadow, those parts of us that we've repressed, denied, or neglected. In other words, when we stay in a toxic connection, it's not just about the other person. It's also about something deep within us that hasn't been addressed, a part of ourselves that we haven't fully acknowledged or accepted. We often seek in others what we can't give ourselves. We search for validation, for love, for approval, expecting someone else to fill the void we haven't yet addressed within ourselves. Jung believed that the shadow holds the key to understanding why we keep falling into patterns that harm us. The shadow isn't just about negative qualities like anger or jealousy. It's also about the parts of us that don't fit the ideal version of ourselves we want to project. Maybe it's our fear of being alone, our insecurities, or our inability to accept the fact that we deserve better. These are all shadow elements that, when left unexamined, can keep us stuck in relationships that don't help us grow. But here's the thing, the shadow is not inherently bad. It's simply a part of us that we've ignored or hidden away. Jung didn't view these elements as something to be ashamed of. Instead, he believed that integrating these parts of ourselves was essential to becoming whole. The problem arises when we refuse to acknowledge the shadow, because it then exerts power over us without our awareness. It's like trying to ignore the darkness in a room. The more you avoid it, the more it grows in influence. And when it comes to relationships, the consequences can be significant. In relationships, we often attract what we subconsciously believe we deserve. If you've spent years feeling unworthy, you might unknowingly seek out people who confirm that belief. These people don't show up in your life by accident. They reflect the beliefs and unresolved issues you hold deep within. By remaining in relationships that reinforce negative self-beliefs, we continue to feed our shadows, reinforcing patterns of self-doubt, fear, and insecurity. Jung's theory suggests that the only way to break free from these unhealthy cycles is to face the shadow head-on. This doesn't mean we have to embrace every part of ourselves that we've rejected in one giant leap. Instead, it means recognizing these aspects, understanding how they've influenced our past relationships, and making the conscious decision to change. Let's take a closer look at this process of shadow work. It's not easy. It involves looking at the parts of ourselves we don't like to admit are there. It's about seeing how our wounds, insecurities, and fears have shaped our decisions and relationships. And once we start doing that, we begin to take control of our choices rather than letting our subconscious dictate our behavior. The difficult part of this journey, of course, is acknowledging that these shadows are often what draw us into toxic relationships in the first place. It's a painful realization that we've been subconsciously seeking out the validation we can't give ourselves. But it's also a liberating one, because the moment we become aware of these patterns, we gain the power to change them. We no longer have to stay in relationships that drain us or make us feel small. Instead, we can start attracting relationships that reflect our true worth, relationships where we are treated with the respect and love we deserve. So, while the shadow can make things feel complicated, it's also the gateway to transformation. Facing it doesn't mean rejecting the parts of ourselves we don't like. It means embracing them with compassion, learning from them, and ultimately growing stronger as a result. Once we understand the shadow, we begin to understand our role in the relationships we choose, and more importantly, we begin to understand what it means to truly love ourselves. Section 3. The shadow self and repressed emotions. As we venture deeper into the concept of the shadow, it's crucial to understand that this hidden part of ourselves is not just about the things we've learned to hide from others. It's about the emotions, beliefs, and traits we've repressed because they don't fit into the image we want to present. For instance, think about anger, jealousy, or fear. These are emotions that many of us have been conditioned to view as bad or undesirable. In fact, society often encourages us to suppress these feelings, teaching us that expressing them can be a sign of weakness or immaturity. However, in doing so, we miss the opportunity to understand these emotions as integral parts of our psyche. The shadow isn't just about our darkness, it's about all the things we've been taught to reject. Jung believed that the unconscious mind holds these repressed emotions as a way of protecting us from confronting uncomfortable truths. But here's the catch. Just because we push them away doesn't mean they disappear. In fact, they grow stronger, more insistent, and often leak into our behavior in ways we don't fully understand. When we try to repress our emotions, particularly negative ones like anger or sadness, they tend to resurface in unexpected ways, often sabotaging our relationships. Have you ever been in a situation where you've been trying to hold it together, only to have a small trigger send you into an emotional explosion? That's your shadow at work. It's the result of all those unacknowledged feelings that you've been pushing down, not realizing that by not facing them, you're allowing them to control your actions. The shadow doesn't only contain negative emotions, though it can also harbor desires, dreams, or ambitions that we've been taught to suppress because they don't align with societal expectations. Maybe you've always dreamed of pursuing a creative career, but you were told that wasn't practical, so you repressed that part of yourself. Or perhaps, as a child, you learned that being too much of anything, whether it's confident, loud, or emotional, was something to be ashamed of. Over time, these traits become hidden within your shadow, and in doing so, you block yourself from fully realizing your potential. But here's where the magic happens. Once we start to explore the shadow, we begin to understand how deeply it has influenced our choices, particularly when it comes to the relationships we choose. This exploration isn't just about introspection. It's about discovering the parts of ourselves that we've been avoiding because they were too painful or difficult to accept. Jung suggested that this process of shadow integration, though uncomfortable, is essential to personal growth. When we integrate our shadow, we reclaim those hidden parts of ourselves and bring them into the light. Let's take relationships. For example, think about how often we choose partners who reflect parts of ourselves we've neglected. It's not that these partners are necessarily bad people, but they embody aspects of our shadow. Perhaps they mirror our own insecurities, or they feed into the narrative that we're not worthy of real love or respect. Jung believed that our relationships serve as mirrors of our unconscious beliefs. So, when we refuse to acknowledge the parts of ourselves that we've hidden away, we tend to attract people who reinforce those beliefs. This doesn't mean we're doomed to continue attracting the same toxic relationships. On the contrary, once we start doing the work to recognize and integrate our shadow, we shift our energy. We stop attracting relationships based on fear or insecurity and start attracting ones based on self-love and authenticity. The truth is, the more we integrate the shadow, the more we realize that we don't need others to validate us or complete us. Our worth comes from within, and when we embrace all of who we are, we create space for relationships that nurture our growth. The process of integrating the shadow isn't quick or easy. It requires courage and patience, but it is the key to freeing ourselves from unhealthy patterns and toxic connections, and the rewards are immeasurable. When we stop repressing the parts of ourselves that we've been taught to hide, we free ourselves from the emotional prisons that have kept us small for so long. We begin to accept ourselves fully, flaws and all, and in doing so, we can finally let go of the relationships that never deserved us. As you reflect on your own life and relationships, think about the parts of yourself you may be ignoring. Are there emotions, desires, or fears you've repressed because they didn't fit into the narrative you wanted to tell about yourself? Are there qualities that you've learned to suppress because you were told they weren't good enough? This is your shadow, and it's waiting for you to look at it. By doing so, you'll not only gain a deeper understanding of yourself, but also unlock the key to healthier, more fulfilling relationships. Section 4. Toxic connections and the subconscious wound. When we talk about toxic relationships, it's not just about people who intentionally hurt us. It's about those connections that, over time, drain our energy, rob us of our self-esteem, and leave us feeling less than we truly are. These are the kinds of relationships where you feel exhausted after every conversation, where your thoughts become consumed by another person's actions, or where you begin to doubt your worth simply by being in their presence. The most insidious part of these relationships is that they often leave behind a subconscious wound, an invisible scar that affects our self-worth long after the relationship ends. In these toxic relationships, we often find ourselves compromising, giving up parts of who we are, and sometimes even losing sight of our dreams and goals. Why do we do this? Why do we stay connected to people who don't value us? Jung suggested that these relationships reflect a deeper psychological conflict, one that is rooted in the subconscious. When we continue to stay in relationships that harm us, we're often trying to fill a void, something we haven't fully healed within ourselves. In a way, we're seeking validation from someone else because we don't believe we are enough on our own. Let's take a moment to really sit with this idea. The relationships that hurt us the most often come at a time when we're feeling most vulnerable, when we haven't fully embraced our worth, when we're searching for something to fill that empty space inside. Jung believed that when we fail to recognize these subconscious needs, we become prone to attracting relationships that reflect those needs in unhealthy ways. We don't just attract people who take from us physically or emotionally. We attract people who reinforce the very beliefs we hold about ourselves. The beliefs that say, "I'm not enough," or "I don't deserve better." Think about the times when you've compromised your values, ignored your instincts, or silenced your voice to keep someone in your life. This is the subconscious wound at play. It's that part of you that believes you don't deserve love unless you prove yourself worthy, unless you're constantly giving, sacrificing, or pleasing others. Over time, this wound can grow deeper, and the person or situation responsible for it becomes the very thing you hold on to, even though it continues to cause pain. So, what happens when we stay in these toxic connections? Jung believed that when we keep clinging to relationships that hurt us, we essentially send a message to our subconscious that we're not worthy of respect or love. We internalize the idea that our needs, our dreams, and our aspirations come second to others. And this message, whether we're aware of it or not, becomes a wound that affects how we perceive ourselves and how we interact with the world. This is why letting go of toxic relationships isn't just about cutting off someone who doesn't treat you well. It's about addressing the wound within yourself that allowed that relationship to take root in the first place. It's about recognizing the subconscious patterns that led you to tolerate behaviors you knew deep down were harmful. To heal, we need to face those patterns, acknowledge the wounds they've created, and make a conscious decision to break free from them. But the question remains, how do we start the healing process? It begins with self-awareness. We must first identify the patterns that keep us attached to toxic relationships. Are we seeking validation because we don't feel worthy? Are we afraid of being alone, so we tolerate poor treatment? Once we've identified these patterns, we can begin to heal by shifting our mindset. We need to stop seeing ourselves through the lens of what others think of us, and start seeing ourselves through the lens of self-love and self-worth. This is the process of reprogramming our subconscious beliefs by consciously choosing to prioritize our well-being and our authenticity over the approval of others. Once we recognize the wound, we can start the journey of healing. Healing doesn't happen overnight, and it's not something that can be rushed. It takes time, effort, and patience. But every step you take toward understanding the subconscious beliefs that have kept you stuck is a step toward emotional freedom. As you begin to heal, you'll notice a shift. You'll stop attracting people who don't value you, and you'll start to attract those who see your worth, who support your dreams, and who nurture your growth. When we let go of toxic relationships, we're not just freeing ourselves from the pain they caused, we're also giving ourselves the opportunity to heal the wounds they left behind. This process of healing is transformative. It allows us to step into a space where we can finally be who we truly are, without the fear of rejection or the need for validation. And as we heal, we become more aligned with our true selves, more confident, more peaceful, and more capable of attracting the kind of love and relationships we deserve. Section 5. The search for validation and the void. There's something deeply human about the search for validation. From the moment we're born, we seek approval, acceptance, and love from those around us. It's natural we want to feel seen, heard, and valued. But what happens when this search for validation extends beyond healthy boundaries? When it becomes a need, a constant hunger that never seems to be satisfied. No matter how much we get from others, this need for validation can manifest in many forms. Perhaps you find yourself constantly seeking praise, approval, or love from people who don't treat you the way you deserve. Maybe you bend over backward to gain someone's affection or to prove your worth. You might find yourself staying in a relationship long after it's clear that it's no longer serving you, all because you're waiting for the approval of someone who may never give it. The problem is that when we seek validation from others, we're relying on external factors to fill an internal void, and that void, Jung would argue, is a product of our shadow. The more we seek validation outside ourselves, the less connected we become to our own inner worth. It's like trying to fill a leaky cup with water. No matter how much you pour in, it never stays full. The void continues to grow, and we keep searching for something to fill it. Jung believed that this void isn't something to be feared. In fact, he argued that it's in this emptiness that we can find the potential for growth. when we let go of the external validation and stop trying to fill the void with relationships, approval, or achievements. We begin to realize that the void is not an enemy, it's a space, a canvas, where we can reconnect with ourselves and rediscover our own value. The challenge, of course, is that the void can feel uncomfortable. It feels like a lack, like something is missing, and we're wired to avoid discomfort at all costs. But Jung suggested that instead of fearing the emptiness, we should approach it with curiosity. The void isn't an absence of something. It's a space of possibility. It's an opportunity to look inward and truly understand who we are. Separate from the validation we seek from others. Now, think about the last time you tried to fill this void with someone who wasn't good for you. Maybe it was a relationship where you kept pouring love and energy into someone who wasn't reciprocating. Or perhaps you stayed in a situation where your needs and desires were constantly ignored. In these instances, you were filling your void with someone else's presence, hoping it would make you feel whole. But what happens when they leave, or when the relationship falls apart? The void returns, and it often feels even bigger than before. This is why letting go of someone who doesn't deserve you is so important. It's not just about cutting someone out of your life. It's about reclaiming your own space, your own essence. When we let go of the need to fill our void with external sources, whether it's validation from others, material success, or unhealthy relationships, we create room to reconnect with who we really are. Jung taught us that the process of self-actualization, of becoming the fullest version of ourselves, requires us to face the emptiness, to sit with it and explore what lies beneath. It's only when we stop relying on others to fill that space that we can begin to fill it with something much more meaningful, our own love, approval, and acceptance. The key here is to start shifting our mindset. Instead of seeing the void as a negative space, see it as an opportunity. Embrace the emptiness as a moment of potential, a moment where you can redefine who you are. The next time you feel the need to seek validation from someone who doesn't truly value you, pause and ask yourself, what am I really searching for? And what would happen if I turned inward instead? Reconnecting with the parts of myself I've neglected or forgotten. As you embark on this journey of self-discovery, you'll notice something remarkable begin to happen. The more you fill the void with self-love and acceptance, the less you'll need from others. You'll no longer feel the urge to prove yourself to anyone, because you'll know your worth without needing external validation. And as your relationship with yourself deepens, you'll attract the kind of love that reflects your true value, one that is balanced, reciprocal, and nourishing. Letting go of the search for validation from others is one of the most powerful acts of self-love you can undertake. It's about stopping the cycle of seeking approval from external sources and instead starting to approve of yourself. The void, once a place of emptiness, becomes a space filled with infinite potential. A space where you are free to create a life that reflects your deepest desires and values. And when you do this, when you finally embrace the void and fill it with your own essence, you'll find that you no longer need to cling to people or situations that drain you. You'll realize that your value isn't determined by how others see you. It's determined by how you see yourself. Section 6. The courage of self-love and letting go. Letting go is never easy, especially when it involves someone who has been a part of your life for a significant amount of time. It feels like you're stepping into the unknown, and that can be terrifying. You might be filled with doubts, fear, and even guilt. What if I made the wrong decision? You ask yourself, what if I'm making a huge mistake? These are the kinds of questions that make it hard to move forward, but they're also part of the process. Because here's the thing, letting go isn't just about removing someone from your life. It's about loving yourself enough to know that you deserve better. Jung believed that self-love isn't something that happens overnight. It's not about just looking in the mirror and saying, I love myself. It's about understanding, at a deep level, that you are worthy of love and respect, simply because you exist. Self-love is an act of courage. It's saying to yourself, I deserve peace, I deserve happiness, and I deserve a relationship that brings out the best in me. But for that to happen, you must first let go of what no longer serves you. Letting go requires the courage to face your fears head-on. It's easy to stay in a relationship because it's familiar. Even if it's toxic, it's comfortable. even when it hurts. The fear of the unknown can make us hold on tighter to what's already causing us pain, because at least it's something we know. But true courage, as Jung would argue, lies in stepping away from what is familiar and embracing the discomfort that comes with change. The act of letting go is a declaration of self-worth, a message to yourself that you are no longer willing to accept less than what you deserve. One of the hardest parts of letting go is the emotional attachment we develop. We can spend years building a connection with someone, and it's difficult to imagine life without them. But in reality, attachment is often based on our fears and insecurities, rather than true love and respect. We may cling to someone because we're afraid of being alone, or because we've tied our sense of self-worth to their validation. But when we let go of someone who doesn't deserve us, we release that attachment and allow ourselves to heal and grow. We make space for ourselves, for our own dreams, and for the kind of love that honors who we truly are. Courage also means letting go of the guilt that can often accompany this process. It's natural to feel guilty for ending a relationship, especially if the other person hasn't done anything outwardly wrong. But the truth is, you don't owe anyone your peace. You don't owe anyone your happiness. Staying in a relationship that's no longer healthy for you doesn't make you a good person. It makes you a person who is afraid to put themselves first. And putting yourself first isn't selfish. It's necessary for your well-being. Jung's work emphasizes the importance of individuation, the process of becoming your true self. This is the journey of self-realization, where you stop living according to the expectations of others and begin living according to your own truth. Letting go of someone who never deserved you is a powerful step in this process. It's a declaration that you are no longer willing to live in the shadow of someone else's needs and desires. You are ready to step into the light of your own potential. The courage of self-love means accepting that letting go doesn't always make sense to others. People might not understand why you choose to leave a relationship, especially if it's not abusive or overtly harmful. But the truth is, it doesn't matter what anyone else thinks. This decision is about you. It's about reclaiming your inner peace and honoring your own heart. And when you start living from this place of self-love, everything changes. When you prioritize your own well-being, you create the foundation for a life that reflects your true essence. You start to attract people who value you for who you are, not just for what you can give them. And as you continue to walk this path of self-love, you'll notice something incredible. The world around you begins to shift. The people, the opportunities, the experiences, they start to align with your authentic self. This is the power of letting go. It's not just about leaving someone behind. It's about making room for a life that resonates with your truth. In a sense, letting go is an act of liberation. It frees you from the chains of fear and insecurity that have held you back from embracing your full potential. It's the beginning of a new chapter, one where you are the author of your own story, and you no longer need anyone else to validate your worth. As you move through this process, remember that self-love is not about perfection. It's about accepting yourself as you are, flaws and all. It's about being kind to yourself, especially during times of uncertainty. And it's about having the courage to let go of what no longer serves you, trusting that in doing so, you will make room for something better, something that honors who you truly are. Section 7. The Journey of Self-Discovery. Letting go of someone who never deserved you is a process that goes beyond simply cutting ties with that person. It's not a one-time event. It's a journey of self-discovery. It's a journey that allows you to reconnect with parts of yourself that have been neglected, ignored, or forgotten. For too long, many of us have allowed our relationships, especially the toxic ones, to define who we are. We've attached our self-worth to others' approval or love. But the moment you start to let go, you begin a profound and sometimes challenging process of discovering who you truly are, outside of the confines of anyone else's expectations or validation. This journey of self-discovery begins with a fundamental truth. You are not defined by the people in your life. You are not defined by the relationships you hold on to, or the ones you let go of. You are defined by your inner essence, your values, and your desires. But before you can fully embrace this truth, you must first go through a process of unlearning the process of shedding the beliefs, fears, and insecurities that have kept you tethered to unhealthy relationships. Letting go, in this sense, is an act of liberation. It's about liberating yourself from the stories you've told yourself about who you are, based on the roles you've played in relationships. Maybe you've told yourself that you're only worthy if you're constantly giving, sacrificing, or pleasing others. Maybe you've believed that love only comes when you give up your own needs in favor of someone else's. Letting go is the first step in rejecting those false narratives. It's about realizing that love doesn't require self-sacrifice, and your needs matter just as much as anyone else's. The journey of self-discovery isn't easy. It often comes with moments of loneliness, confusion, and even fear. The emptiness left behind when a toxic relationship ends can feel like a void that's too overwhelming to bear. But that emptiness is also an opportunity. It's an invitation to look inward, to reconnect with your own desires, values, and passions. For the first time in a long while, you have the space to explore who you are without the influence or expectations of someone else. Jung argued that self-knowledge is the foundation of a fulfilling life. The more we know ourselves, the more we can live in alignment with our true essence. But self-knowledge isn't something that happens overnight. It's a lifelong process. It's about being honest with yourself, facing your fears, and accepting your flaws and strengths with equal love and compassion. It's about understanding the parts of you that have been hidden away, particularly the aspects that have been shaped by your past experiences and relationships. As you move through this journey of self-discovery, there will be moments of discomfort. You may uncover parts of yourself that you've repressed, and this can be unsettling. But remember, these parts are not something to fear. They are the key to your personal growth. The more you embrace them, the more whole and authentic you become. One of the most powerful aspects of this journey is that it empowers you to redefine your relationships. As you grow and evolve, the people around you will either rise to meet you in this new space, or they will fall away. The beauty of this process is that you no longer need to hold on to relationships that don't align with your values and needs. You begin to attract people who see you for who you truly are, not for the version of yourself that you've been playing for the sake of others. But the journey doesn't stop at self-discovery. It continues with self-empowerment, the realization that you have the ability to create a life that is truly aligned with your desires. You are no longer waiting for someone to come into your life and complete you. You are complete as you are. Letting go creates space for you to step into your own power, to reclaim your energy, and to make choices that reflect your authentic self. The beauty of this journey is that it doesn't have an end. It's a lifelong process of evolution, where you continue to discover new aspects of yourself and your potential. The more you embrace your true self, the more you'll attract the people, experiences, and opportunities that resonate with your highest aspirations. Your relationships will no longer be based on fear, insecurity, or the need for validation. They will be built on a foundation of mutual respect, love, and authenticity. So, as you continue this journey of self-discovery, remember to be patient with yourself. Growth takes time, healing takes time, but every step you take toward embracing who you truly are is a step toward the life you've always deserved. And with every choice you make that aligns with your true self, you are not only changing your own life, you are creating the space for others to do the same. Self-discovery is a gift, and letting go is the key that unlocks it. It's a process of coming back to yourself, of shedding the layers that no longer serve you, and of embracing your full potential. As you walk this path, remember that the only person you need to validate you is you. You are worthy of love, respect, and happiness, just as you are. Section 8. Facing fear and embracing emptiness. One of the most significant hurdles when letting go of someone who never deserved you is the fear of emptiness. It's that gut-wrenching feeling that you'll be alone, that there will be nothing left to fill the space that person once occupied in your life. It's the dread of the unknown, the sense that the moment that relationship is gone, you'll be adrift in a void. But here's the truth, that emptiness is not your enemy. It's the very thing that will lead you to freedom. It's natural to fear emptiness. After all, we've spent so much of our lives filling up our time, our hearts, and our minds with people, relationships, and experiences that we believe define us. So, when those things are taken away, it can feel like we're losing a part of ourselves. We fear that we'll never be the same without that person in our lives, that the space they leave behind will never be filled again. But what if that empty space is actually an opportunity, an invitation to reconnect with your truest, most authentic self? Carl Jung believed that emptiness, or what he called the shadow of our psyche, is not something to fear, but something to embrace. When we allow ourselves to sit with our emptiness, to feel the discomfort of the unknown, we begin the process of self-integration. We start to understand that we are not defined by our relationships, our possessions, or external validation. We are defined by our inner strength, our capacity for growth, and our ability to create meaning in our lives. Emptiness, then, is not a permanent state. It is a temporary space that is ripe for transformation. When you let go of someone who never deserved you, you create room in your life to rediscover what makes you whole. This is the gift of emptiness. It is a blank canvas, a fresh start where you can define who you are without the influence or expectations of others. The fear of emptiness often comes with a deep sense of vulnerability. It's as though you're standing at the edge of a precipice, unsure whether you'll fall or soar. This vulnerability can make us want to turn back, to cling to what we know, even if it's painful. But it's precisely through this vulnerability that we unlock the potential for growth. To embrace the emptiness is to trust yourself, to trust that, even in the face of uncertainty, you have the resilience and the inner resources to rebuild your life in a way that aligns with your true self. Let's explore this further. Emptiness isn't the absence of something. It's the space where transformation happens. Think about the times in your life when you've faced a major transition. Maybe you've ended a relationship, moved to a new city, or started a new career. During these times, you likely felt unsure and vulnerable, but over time, you began to fill that space with new experiences, new people, and a deeper understanding of who you are. The same thing happens when you let go of someone who never deserved you. At first, the void feels overwhelming, but over time, it will be filled with new opportunities, new insights, and a renewed sense of self. Jung taught us that transformation happens when we stop resisting the empty spaces in our lives. Instead of trying to fill them with distractions, we allow ourselves to sit with them and reflect. We give ourselves the time and space to heal, to reassess our desires, and to explore what truly matters to us. This process is uncomfortable, but it's also liberating. It's through the discomfort of emptiness that we can discover new dimensions of ourselves and our potential. Let's take a moment to reflect on what happens when we resist emptiness. When we fear being alone, we might rush into new relationships, distractions, or even work to fill the void. We do this to avoid the discomfort of being alone with ourselves. But in doing so, we miss the opportunity to truly get to know who we are. We avoid the very thing that could lead us to emotional freedom. The key, then, is to embrace the emptiness instead of running from it. Lean into it, sit with the discomfort, and let it guide you. Understand that, in the space of emptiness, you are not alone. You are with yourself, and that is enough. You are already whole. The moment you stop fearing the emptiness, you begin to realize that it is the space where your true self can emerge. The process of letting go, while it can feel like a loss, is actually a process of reclaiming yourself. It is about rediscovering your worth, your passions, and your purpose. When you let go of what no longer serves you, you are not left with nothing. You are left with everything that you need to create a new, more authentic life. As you face your fears of emptiness, remember that this is the path to emotional freedom. Embrace the space you've created, for it is the fertile ground where new beginnings will sprout. The fear of being empty is merely the fear of not knowing who you are without someone else's influence. But the truth is, you are enough on your own. You are complete, even in your emptiness. And when you start living from that place of wholeness, everything in your life will begin to change. Section 9. The transformation of self-worth. One of the most powerful transformations that happens when you let go of someone who never deserved you is the shift in your self-worth. For so long, you may have based your sense of value on how someone else treated you or how they made you feel. Perhaps, over time, you allowed their opinions, their love, or their approval to become the measuring stick for your self-esteem. When we let go of relationships that drain us, we start to realize that our worth has never been tied to another person. It was always within us. The shift in self-worth doesn't happen immediately, and it often takes time for it to fully sink in. For years, we may have conditioned ourselves to believe that we were only as valuable as the love and attention we received from others. We might have ignored our own needs, dreams, and desires, all because we were focused on earning someone else's affection or approval. But when you choose to let go of someone who never deserved you, you begin to unlearn this pattern. You start to understand that your worth isn't conditional. It is inherent, unchanging, and unconditional. Jung's ideas about the self are incredibly relevant here. He believed that true self-worth comes from an integrated sense of who you are, not from external validation. To be whole, we must accept every part of ourselves, including those we've rejected, neglected, or tried to hide. It's through this self-acceptance, through integrating all aspects of our being, that we can realize our full potential. And this is precisely what happens when we let go of toxic relationships. We begin the process of integration, the process of becoming whole. Letting go of someone who never deserved you is an act of self-respect. It's saying, I deserve love, peace, and kindness, not just from others, but from myself. And when you start to respect yourself in this way, you begin to see yourself differently. You begin to recognize that you are worthy of relationships that are reciprocal, loving, and nurturing. You no longer settle for less than you deserve. And the people who enter your life reflect this change. But there's another element of self-worth that comes into play when you let go. It's the realization that your worth isn't tied to anyone else's approval or affection. When we stay in unhealthy relationships, we often measure our value based on how the other person sees us. We might give and give, hoping that our love will be enough to earn their respect, their love, or their commitment. But when you let go, you realize that your love is not meant to be earned or demanded. It is freely given, and it starts with yourself. This is the power of self-love. It's not about expecting perfection from yourself or others. It's about honoring your feelings, your needs, and your boundaries. It's about understanding that your value is not determined by how others treat you. Your value is inherent, and it has always been there. The moment you begin to embrace this truth, your self-worth will shift. You'll stop seeking validation from others because you'll no longer need it. You'll start to value yourself for who you are, not for what you can do for someone else. It's important to note that this shift doesn't mean you become arrogant or self-centered. On the contrary, true self-worth is about humility and acceptance. It's about recognizing your strengths and weaknesses, your light and shadow, and embracing them all with compassion. When you respect yourself in this way, you create the foundation for healthy, balanced relationships where both you and your partner respect, love, and support each other in equal measure. This transformation of self-worth is gradual, but it's profound. It's the realization that you are enough, just as you are. You no longer need to prove yourself to anyone. The more you integrate this truth into your life, the more you'll notice that your relationships begin to change. No longer will you accept people who drain you, disrespect you, or make you feel small. Instead, you'll start attracting people who see you for who you truly are. People who recognize your worth and treat you accordingly. Self-worth isn't something we gain from others. It's something we create from within. And once you start recognizing your true value, you'll find that you no longer tolerate behaviors or situations that undermine that value. You'll begin to stand firm in your boundaries and make decisions that honor your peace and happiness. This transformation isn't just about letting go of someone who never deserved you. It's about stepping into the fullness of who you are and owning your worth without apology. The most beautiful part of this transformation is that it doesn't just affect your relationships, it affects every aspect of your life. When you start valuing yourself, you begin to make choices that align with your highest good. You start pursuing your passions, setting goals that reflect your true desires, and surrounding yourself with people who uplift you. Your life begins to mirror the value you place on yourself. As you continue to walk this path of self-love and self-respect, remember that your worth is not up for debate. It's not contingent on what someone else thinks of you, or how much you can give, or how much you can do. Your worth is simply because you exist, and you are worthy of love, peace, and all the good things that life has to offer. When you understand this, you become unstoppable. You become the person who knows their value and you refuse to settle for anything less than what you deserve. Section 10. The empty space and what follows. After you let go of someone who never deserved you, you're left with a certain kind of emptiness. It's not a void in the traditional sense, but a space, a new blank slate in your life. In the beginning, this empty space may feel unsettling. You might feel like there's a gap, an absence where that person used to be, and the silence might feel deafening. It's important to remember, though, that this emptiness isn't something to fear. It's simply a transition, a moment where life pauses for you to catch your breath and to take a step back to reflect. This empty space is more than just a moment of pause. It is a fertile ground for new beginnings. It's a canvas, blank and ready for you to paint your own masterpiece. The challenge is to not rush to fill it with distractions or unnecessary relationships. It's tempting, after a period of loss, to want to fill the space with something, anything, to avoid the discomfort. But instead, the true power lies in sitting with the emptiness and allowing it to guide you. What follows this emptiness is a profound opportunity for reinvention. When you stop clinging to something that no longer serves you, you create space for what truly matters to you. You begin to reconnect with your passions, your dreams, and the things that excite and inspire you. Often, when we're trapped in unhealthy relationships, we lose touch with what brings us joy and fulfillment. We give so much of ourselves to others that we forget to nurture our own desires. In the space left by letting go, you have the freedom to rediscover your true self. Think about what you've neglected. Perhaps a hobby you once loved, a career goal you put on hold, or a relationship with yourself that you ignored. This is the time to revisit those things and make them a priority. The emptiness becomes an invitation to explore the parts of yourself that were buried beneath the weight of your past connection. The beauty of this empty space is that it's yours to fill. It's not a vacuum. It's a place of infinite possibility. You get to decide how you want to use it. This is where true transformation happens. When you stop defining yourself by your past relationships and begin defining yourself by what you want to create moving forward. Let's take a closer look at how this transformation works. In the past, your relationships may have been centered around trying to fit into someone else's world. You adjusted your behavior, your priorities, and your needs to match theirs. But now, the empty space is yours to fill however you choose. You are free to align your life with your true desires, free from the constraints of someone else's expectations. At first, it may feel uncomfortable, like stepping into unfamiliar territory. But this discomfort is temporary. It's a sign that you are growing, that you are stepping outside of your comfort zone. In time, as you begin to fill the empty space with your own energy and creativity, you'll notice something incredible. The emptiness is replaced with peace, with clarity, and with an alignment to your authentic self. This process of filling the space doesn't happen all at once. It's gradual. You may start by focusing on small aspects of your life, perhaps reorganizing your home, setting new personal goals, or taking up a new hobby. These small actions create momentum and help you regain a sense of purpose. Over time, this space begins to transform from something that once felt like loss into something that feels like opportunity. The empty space can also be a place for self-reflection. It's a time to ask yourself the hard questions. Who am I outside of this relationship? What do I truly want from life? What kind of love and relationships do I want to cultivate moving forward? These questions will lead you to deeper self-awareness, which will guide your future choices. The more you understand who you are and what you need, the more you'll be able to fill this space with things that align with your true self. Another beautiful aspect of this transformation is that, as you begin to fill the space with your own energy, you also start to notice that people who truly resonate with your authentic self begin to show up. The people who will bring out the best in you, who will support and uplift you, and who will add to your life instead of draining it. They will start to appear. This is the magic of creating space in your life. When you let go of what no longer serves you, you make room for relationships that are healthy, balanced, and fulfilling. It's important to understand that this process doesn't require perfection. You don't need to have everything figured out right away. The key is to take one step at a time, to embrace the emptiness as part of your healing, and to trust that you are on the right path. Each small step you take in filling that empty space with the things that matter most will bring you closer to the life you truly desire. Over time, you will begin to notice that the emptiness is no longer a void, but a powerful force in your life. It becomes the space in which you create, grow, and transform. The more you align with your true desires and values, the more you'll feel connected to your purpose, to your happiness, and to your own sense of worth. This empty space is not something to fear. It is the birthplace of your next chapter. It is where your true potential lies. And as you fill it with your own energy, creativity, and authenticity, you'll begin to see that the life you've been waiting for has always been within your reach. The process of letting go is not an ending. It's a beautiful new beginning. Section 11. Breaking patterns and healing old wounds. When we let go of someone who never deserved us, we aren't just leaving a person behind. We are breaking free from patterns that have kept us stuck in unhealthy relationships. These patterns are often deeply ingrained in our psyche, shaped by past experiences, fears, and beliefs about ourselves. Jung understood this very well. He called it the process of individuation, where we face the unconscious forces within us and consciously choose to break the cycles that no longer serve us. For many of us, the fear of abandonment, the belief that we're unworthy of love, or the desire to fix others can lead us to make poor choices in relationships. These patterns might stem from childhood experiences, past traumas, or even societal conditioning. Perhaps we were taught to believe that we need to earn love by giving more than we receive, or that we should tolerate unhealthy behaviors for the sake of keeping the peace. Over time, these beliefs become internalized, and we attract people who reflect those beliefs back to us. Breaking these patterns is essential to healing. When we let go of someone who didn't value us, we are not just leaving behind a toxic individual. We are shedding the layers of false beliefs we've accumulated over time. We are making the conscious decision to stop tolerating behaviors that hurt us, to stop accepting relationships that make us feel less than we are. This is an act of self-liberation, a commitment to change the way we view ourselves and our worth. But this process isn't always easy. Old wounds, those deep emotional scars from past experiences, can resurface when we begin to break free from the patterns that have held us captive. These wounds often carry with them feelings of shame, guilt, and inadequacy. We may feel as though we don't deserve better, or that we are doomed to repeat the same mistakes. But these emotions are simply part of the healing process. They are the remnants of old beliefs that no longer serve us, and they need to be acknowledged and processed in order to make space for growth. Jung believed that true healing comes from integrating the parts of ourselves that we've repressed. When we face our wounds, instead of running from them, we begin to heal. We learn to see them not as something that defines us, but as something that has taught us valuable lessons. Each wound, each past trauma, is an opportunity for growth, self-awareness, and transformation. It is through healing these wounds that we become more whole, more authentic, and more aligned with our true selves. Healing old wounds is about acknowledging the pain without letting it control us. It's about reframing the narrative we tell ourselves about who we are and what we deserve. As you begin to break free from unhealthy patterns, take time to reflect on the beliefs that have shaped your decisions in the past. What messages did you internalize about love, relationships, and your own worth? Where did these beliefs come from? And how can you reframe them to align with your highest self? It's important to be compassionate with yourself during this process. Healing is not linear. There will be moments when you feel strong and empowered, and other times when the past comes rushing back with full force. But every time you confront those old wounds, every time you choose to release the beliefs that have held you back, you take another step toward emotional freedom. As you begin to heal, you'll notice that your patterns start to shift. You'll stop attracting relationships that mirror your old wounds, and instead, you'll begin to create space for relationships that nurture and support you. You'll find that the people you connect with will respect your boundaries, value your worth, and meet you at a place of mutual love and understanding. This shift doesn't happen overnight, but it is the natural result of healing and breaking free from the patterns that once held you captive. One of the most powerful aspects of this healing process is that it empowers you to live a life that is authentic and true to who you are. When we release the old stories that no longer serve us, we create space for a new story, one that is built on self-love, self-respect, and self-worth. This new story is one where you are the author, and you get to choose the relationships, experiences, and opportunities that align with your true desires. Breaking patterns and healing old wounds is not just about letting go of toxic relationships. It's about letting go of the limiting beliefs that have shaped the way you've seen yourself and the world around you. It's about stepping into your power, embracing your true worth, and creating a life that reflects your authentic self. As you continue on this journey, remember that you are not defined by your past. Your wounds do not determine your future. The key to healing is recognizing that you have the power to change, to rewrite your story, and to build a life that reflects your highest potential. And every time you choose to heal, every time you choose to break free from the patterns that no longer serve you, you are one step closer to living a life of true peace, love, and fulfillment. Section 12. The role of intuition in letting go. When you find yourself in the process of letting go of someone who never deserved you, there's one vital resource that will help guide you through: your intuition. Intuition is that quiet, inner voice that tells you when something isn't right, when it's time to move forward, and when it's time to release what no longer serves you. It's a subtle but powerful tool that we often ignore, especially when our emotions are clouded by fear, guilt, or self-doubt. Intuition is not something mystical or abstract. It is, in fact, deeply tied to your body's wisdom. It's the way your heart races when you're in a situation that's unsafe or uncomfortable, the pit in your stomach that forms when something feels off. We are all born with this natural instinct to protect ourselves and guide our decisions. But too often, we drown it out with the noise of external opinions, societal expectations, or our own fears. Carl Jung believed that intuition is an essential component of self-awareness and growth. He argued that our intuition bridges the gap between our conscious mind and the unconscious, helping us connect with deeper truths about ourselves. It is through our intuition that we can access the wisdom of our unconscious minds, especially when we are in the process of letting go of something or someone. When it comes to relationships, intuition can act as a compass. It's that quiet whisper that tells you something isn't right, long before your mind is ready to admit it. It's the sense you get when you feel that a relationship is draining you, or when you know deep down that it's time to move on, even if your emotions haven't caught up yet. The key is learning to trust that inner voice, even when it contradicts what others might think or say. For example, think about how many times you've ignored red flags in a relationship because you were afraid to face the truth. Maybe you told yourself things would get better, or that you could change the situation, but your intuition was trying to guide you, telling you that the relationship was unhealthy, unsustainable, or simply not right for you. If you look back, you may realize that your intuition was speaking to you all along, but you were too focused on the external circumstances or on pleasing the other person to truly listen. Learning to trust your intuition is one of the most empowering aspects of letting go. It's about learning to trust yourself, your ability to make decisions that honor your well-being and your inner truth. In relationships, we often let the fear of being wrong or the fear of judgment hold us back from making choices that are best for us. But intuition doesn't come from fear. It comes from a place of knowing, from the deepest part of who you are. When you begin to listen to your intuition, you start to understand your own needs more clearly. You begin to see when something feels off in a relationship, long before it becomes a major issue. And you begin to realize that you have the power to make choices that align with your values and desires, not based on external influences or fear of being alone. This is the first step in letting go, acknowledging that your inner wisdom knows what's best for you. If you're unsure how to connect with your intuition, there are simple practices that can help you strengthen it. Start by spending more time in quiet reflection, journaling, meditating, or simply sitting in stillness for a few minutes each day can help you tune in to your inner voice. Ask yourself questions like, what do I really need right now? Or how do I feel about this relationship? Pay attention to the subtle shifts in your body and mind when you ask these questions. You may be surprised at how much clarity you gain when you give yourself permission to listen to your gut, Another way to connect with your intuition is by being honest with yourself. Often, we ignore our intuition because we don't want to face the truth about a situation or a person. We fear the discomfort that comes with acknowledging that something isn't right. But the more honest you are with yourself, the easier it becomes to hear your intuition clearly. Trust that your feelings are valid, and listen to the emotions that arise without judgment. As you start trusting your intuition, you'll notice that the process of letting go becomes easier. You'll find it less difficult to recognize when someone doesn't treat you with respect, or when a relationship has run its course. Your intuition will help you make decisions that are in alignment with your true self. And over time, you'll realize that you are the one in control of your life, not anyone else. Jung emphasized that our unconscious mind is always working to guide us, but we often suppress it in favor of external influences. But intuition is a gift, a direct connection to the deeper wisdom of our psyche. When we tap into that wisdom, we can make choices that are truly in our best interest. And letting go of someone who never deserved you is one of the most powerful decisions you can make when you trust that inner knowing. As you move forward in your journey, let your intuition be your guide. It's a source of strength, clarity, and self-awareness. Trust it, honor it, and let it lead you toward the life you deserve, free from toxic relationships and aligned with your truest, most authentic self. Section 13. Releasing resentment and blame. One of the most powerful steps in the process of letting go of someone who never deserved you is learning to release resentment and blame. It's easy to fall into the trap of holding on to anger, bitterness, or frustration toward the person who hurt you. You may replay the mistakes they made, the things they said, or the ways they treated you, and each time you do, you relive the pain. It feels justified, doesn't it? After all, they hurt you, and it's only natural to want to hold on to those feelings. But holding on to resentment doesn't punish them. It punishes you. Jung understood that resentment and blame, when held on to too long, become toxic. They don't just affect our thoughts, they seep into our emotions and energy. Resentment binds us to the past, tying us to the person or situation that caused the hurt, and this holds us back from moving forward. When we stay angry or blame someone for our pain, we give them power over our lives. Even long after they've left, we let them continue to affect our emotional state, our decisions, and our sense of peace. Letting go means relinquishing that power. It means deciding that the time has come to free yourself from the grip of resentment, to stop letting the past dictate your present and future. This isn't to say that what happened to you wasn't wrong, or that you shouldn't acknowledge the pain. It's not about pretending it didn't hurt or invalidating your feelings. It's about recognizing that holding on to these feelings, no matter how justified they may seem, is keeping you trapped in a cycle of suffering. To truly let go, we need to shift our perspective. Instead of blaming the other person for our pain, we must take responsibility for how we choose to react to it. No matter what someone has done to you, you always have a choice in how you respond. Holding on to resentment and blame keeps you stuck in the victim role, where you feel powerless and helpless. But releasing those emotions gives you your power back. It allows you to step into the role of the creator of your own story, where you choose how to move forward, regardless of what has happened in the past. The first step in releasing resentment is forgiveness, and forgiveness is often misunderstood. Forgiveness isn't about excusing the other person's behavior or letting them off the hook for what they did. It's not about them at all. Forgiveness is about releasing the hold that anger and pain have on your heart. It's about giving yourself permission to heal and move on. When you forgive, you free yourself, not the other person. You take away the emotional charge that keeps you bound to the past. But how do you forgive when it feels so difficult? Start by acknowledging your feelings without judgment. Recognize that it's okay to be angry, hurt, or upset. These emotions are valid, but don't let them control you. Let them flow through you without holding on to them. Feel your feelings. Express them in healthy ways, and then allow them to pass. When you hold on to negative emotions, you invite them to take root in your life, to define your mental and emotional state. When you release them, you regain your freedom. Jung's work on individuation emphasized the importance of self-acceptance and understanding. This applies to forgiveness too. To forgive, You must first accept that the other person is a reflection of their own wounds, fears, and limitations. They may have acted out of their own unresolved issues, and while this doesn't excuse their behavior, it can help you see them as flawed human beings rather than the source of your pain. When you view the situation from this perspective, you may find that the anger and resentment start to lose their grip. Another way to release resentment is by practicing empathy. This doesn't mean excusing or tolerating hurtful behavior, but it means seeing the person who hurt you as a human being with their own struggles, flaws, and traumas. Everyone operates from a place of their own conditioning, and often, people act out of their own pain. Understanding this doesn't make what they did okay, but it can soften your heart and help you move toward release. It allows you to stop seeing them as someone who did this to you, and instead recognize them as someone who was caught in their own cycle of pain. When you forgive, you stop carrying the emotional weight of the past. You begin to heal, and with healing comes peace. The space that was once filled with anger and blame starts to fill with compassion and understanding, not just for others, but for yourself. You release the burden of trying to control or change the past, and you give yourself permission to move forward in a healthier, more balanced way. Letting go of resentment doesn't mean you forget what happened. It doesn't mean you erase the memory of the hurt or pretend like it didn't matter. It simply means you choose to stop letting it control your life. It means you make a conscious decision to prioritize your peace over the power of someone else's actions. By releasing resentment and blame, you make room for healing and self-love. You stop carrying the emotional baggage of the past into your future, and instead, you start to cultivate a life filled with emotional freedom and empowerment. This is the essence of letting go, choosing to free yourself, choosing to reclaim your peace, and choosing to live a life that is not dictated by the mistakes of others, but defined by your own strength, wisdom, and ability to forgive. Section 14. Creating space for what you deserve. Letting go of someone who never deserved you is a transformative experience. It not only clears the emotional clutter from your life, but also opens the door to a future that aligns with your true desires. It's not just about leaving someone behind. It's about creating space for what you truly deserve. When we hold on to unhealthy relationships, we inadvertently block the possibility for better things to come into our lives. Letting go is a declaration that you are ready for more, a better love, more peace, deeper connections, and a life that reflects your true self. Creating space for what you deserve isn't just about waiting for something or someone new to fill the void. It's about taking active steps to align your life with the things that truly nourish you. The first step is to recognize that you have the power to choose what you allow into your life. For too long, many of us have been shaped by circumstances, by the people we let in, and by the need for external validation. But when we choose to let go of what no longer serves us, we take back our power. We become the architects of our own lives, and that means we can create the space for better, healthier, and more fulfilling experiences. This process of creation starts within. It's not enough to just remove something toxic from your life. You need to actively work on what you want to replace it with. This is where the concept of self-love becomes crucial. When we love ourselves, we stop tolerating less than what we deserve. We no longer settle for relationships that drain us or make us feel small. Instead, we raise our standards. We ask for more respect, more honesty, more love, and more peace. By doing so, we make room for the kind of relationships that nurture and elevate us, not the ones that hold us back. Take time to reflect on what you truly want from life. What kind of people do you want in your circle? What kind of love do you want to experience? What type of work, experiences, or adventures would bring you joy? Once you have clarity on what you want, start making choices that align with that vision. This is the space you're creating for yourself, one where you are the center, and everything around you serves to support your growth, your happiness, and your well-being. Creating space for what you deserve is also about being patient with yourself. It's easy to feel like you need to rush into something new to fill the gap left by a toxic relationship. But doing so will only lead to repeating the same patterns. The space you've created is for you to fill with things that are truly aligned with your true essence. not just temporary distractions. It's okay to take time for yourself to heal and reflect. This is your opportunity to reconnect with your passions, rediscover your sense of self, and align your life with what genuinely brings you peace and fulfillment. During this period of space creation, think of it as a time of cultivating inner peace. The more you nurture your emotional well-being, the more that peace will naturally radiate out to your external world. The relationships you attract will be healthier, more fulfilling, and based on mutual respect and love. You'll begin to see that the more you honor your true self, the more you create the space for others to honor you as well. Healthy relationships aren't about finding someone who completes you. They're about finding someone who complements you, who respects your individuality, and who grows alongside you. Another important aspect of creating space for what you deserve is setting boundaries. Often, we hold on to unhealthy relationships because we've never established healthy boundaries. We might have let others walk all over us, accept less than we deserve, or compromise our values to keep the peace. Letting go of someone who never deserved you is also an opportunity to establish new boundaries. Boundaries that protect your energy, your peace, and your heart. It's about learning to say no when something doesn't align with your values, and yes to things that contribute to your growth, happiness, and overall well-being. When you set boundaries, you send a message to the universe that you value yourself and your needs. You stop tolerating behaviors that are disrespectful or hurtful, and instead, you make room for people and situations that honor you. Setting boundaries is also a way of teaching others how to treat you. You no longer settle for people who drain you or make you feel unworthy. You teach the world that you are deserving of love, respect, and all the good things that life has to offer. As you create this space, understand that the universe has a way of responding when you prioritize yourself. The moment you stop holding on to what doesn't serve you, you create room for better things to come in. You might notice that opportunities begin to present themselves, or that the people you attract into your life are more aligned with your values. This is the magic of space creation. It allows you to attract what you truly deserve. But remember, this process is not about expecting perfection. Creating space is about being open to what is right for you. It's about allowing life to unfold in a way that aligns with your highest good, trusting that what is meant for you will come when the time is right. And most importantly, it's about continuing to love yourself through it all, knowing that you deserve the best and that you are worthy of the life you dream of. So, as you move forward, take a moment to reflect on what you truly deserve. Visualize the life you want to create, the people, the experiences, the love, and the success that will support your growth and happiness. You are not just letting go of something. You are making space for a new beginning. And this new beginning is filled with all the possibilities you've been waiting for. Section 15. The power of letting go and embracing the future. Letting go of someone who never deserved you is not just an act of emotional release. It's the beginning of something transformative. As you step into the space you've created, you begin to realize that you are no longer defined by the past. You are no longer the person who clung to toxic relationships for fear of being alone. You are no longer the person who tolerated poor treatment or invalidated your own needs to keep the peace. The act of letting go is, in essence, the act of choosing yourself, of prioritizing your peace, and of embracing the fullness of who you are. This new chapter isn't just about shedding the weight of the past. It's about stepping into a future that is filled with possibilities. Once you release what no longer serves you, you open up a world where you can create, explore, and grow in ways that you never thought possible. The fear of the unknown, which once held you back, now becomes a space of freedom to be the person you were always meant to be. As Carl Jung said, the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. And that's exactly what happens when you let go. You shed the layers of other people's expectations, beliefs, and judgments. You step into your true self, the version of you that is authentic, aligned, and ready to live a life that truly resonates with your heart's desires. And as you do, you'll notice that the world around you starts to shift. Relationships become healthier. Opportunities that once seemed impossible begin to unfold. You attract people who see your worth and support your growth. And you start to attract experiences that elevate you. It's important to understand that letting go doesn't mean forgetting or pretending the past never happened. Letting go means choosing to stop allowing the past to dictate your present or your future. It means acknowledging what you've learned from the experience and using that wisdom to shape a new reality. It's not about erasing the pain, but about transforming it into strength. The lessons from the past become the foundation of who you are becoming. And with each step you take forward, you get closer to a version of yourself that is empowered, self-aware, and at peace. This new version of yourself is free from the shackles of the past. You are no longer weighed down by the emotional baggage of past relationships, the insecurities that once held you back, or the need for validation from others. You are free to make choices that reflect your truest desires, not the expectations of others or the fears of what could go wrong. You are free to embrace your own worth, knowing that you are enough just as you are. And this freedom is a gift. It's the gift of knowing that you are in control of your life, that you can choose what and who you allow into your world, and that you have the power to create the life you desire. The beauty of letting go is that it empowers you to build a future based on your own values, your own dreams, and your own authentic self. It opens up the space for you to start living a life that is true to who you are, not who others think you should be. As you embrace this new phase of your life, take a moment to reflect on how far you've come. Think about all the things you've learned, all the strength you've gained, and all the opportunities that lie ahead. Know that by letting go, you have given yourself the gift of growth, of emotional freedom, and of self-love. You have stepped into a space where anything is possible, where you can fully embrace your potential and create a life that reflects the best version of yourself. Letting go is not an end. It's a beginning. It's the start of a new chapter, one where you are no longer bound by the past or by toxic relationships. It's a chapter where you choose to prioritize yourself, your peace, and your happiness. And as you move forward, remember that the universe has a way of responding to the energy you put out. When you step into your own power, when you fully embrace your worth, the world around you starts to align with that energy. You will attract the relationships, opportunities, and experiences that reflect your newfound sense of self. So, as you step into the future, know that you are not alone. You are supported by the wisdom of your own experiences, the love you have for yourself, and the strength that comes from embracing your true self. Letting go of someone who never deserved you is the ultimate act of self-respect, and it sets you on the path toward a future filled with love, peace, and fulfillment. Your journey has just begun, and with every step you take toward creating the life you deserve, you become more aligned with your true essence, more confident in your decisions, and more at peace with the person you are becoming. Embrace this future, embrace your power, and know that the best is yet to come.